Hi, I'm Fran from Mercurial and you're watching The Monday Club.
It's Monday, it's 7 p.m. and the Bronx are on parade. It's time for The Monday Club, featuring your host, Jennifer Kirk, with the help of the Cupboard Monkey, and your host with the Toast Topsy Toaster, and a wizard called Gandalf, featuring the sounds of the Glass Awake Symphony Orchestra and the musical stylings of Gordon, the music maestro. Let's get ready to loco! Ho, ho, ho! Ooh.
The Monday Club is proudly sponsored by TMC, the Model Centre. Check them out at themodelcentre.com. The website features extensive stocks of new models as well as selective pre-owned items where you can track down that bargain you've always wanted. Pre-order with confidence all of the forthcoming models from all the manufacturers. TMC also offer a renumbering and renaming service so you can get the exact identity of locomotive that you want. Why not also check out their value weathering, or go for something incredibly special with their bespoke service where you can choose from a more extensive weathered look right through to custom graffiti either off the peg or to a design of your choice. Check out TMC today at themodelcentre.com and start your model journey. A big hello to you. It's so great to see you and I hope I find you well. I seem to be right at... Oh, there we go. So it's really great to see you and I hope I find you well. It's Monday. It's 7 o'clock GMT and that means it's time for the Monday Club. And now you might have noticed that we've got the Cupboard Monkey here as well. Topsy has gone on his holidays. He's gone around the Warburton's bakery to see how bread is made. You know, they do this guided tour thing, so he's quite happy with that. But today, you've seen the trailer ahead. We've got Richard Davies from Hattons coming on, so we'll be bringing him in over Skype in the next 15 or so minutes. But first of all, that basically gives us just a little bit of time for people to get in and get settled. So big hello to Joshua W56, Chehalis Model Railway, Malcolm Moore, Don Cragen, Patrick Ling, Nick Garolimo, Jennifer Horton, Southern Train Girl, Wiven Model Railway, Mousehole Rail, Josh, Flightma Chairman 1, Rick Morley, David Scott, B2000 Darrow Toys Channel, Ben Tullett, Leslie Gilpin Railways, James Spinks Railways, Will Tucker, Sarah Davis, Harry Sedgwick, Zantec, Jennifer Horton, Kev McKay, 85, Busby Junction, Mike Lane TT120, Turocco, 00 Railways, Leslie Gilpin Railways, Messing Around with Models, Awesome Bricks. There are so many of you in there. I know it's going to be fairly wild tonight. And for anybody who's watching and going, why are my comments not turning up? You actually have to be subscribed. And I think it's for at least 20 minutes before you can post comments. So if anybody's wondering why it's not letting them post comments, if this is your first time here, that is the reason why. And it's really just to keep down trolling comments. So in the news, you might remember at the end of last week's Monday Club, we broke the story about the Worley Model Rail Club deciding to end the Worley show at the NEC. Whilst that wasn't common knowledge at the time, we were told by somebody at the club who right at the very end brought the news to us and put it publicly in the chat. That turned out to be pretty much the truth. So they had their, I think it was their extraordinary general meeting. And essentially, it's something that has caused a problem with a lot of clubs, societies, volunteer organisations across all walks of life. It seems to be very, very difficult to get people to commit their time. And the organising committee have been doing it for a very long time. And essentially just wanted to stand down, retire. After a while, it's something that you think, actually, maybe it's time somebody else take it on. And unfortunately, it sounds like they've had a lot of difficulty in finding new people to step forward. This, coupled with, it's a very expensive show to organise at the NEC. So huge costs, and I think there was a worry as well that it was potentially a bit of a liability, and that they could end up having to pay out more than they got back in. The attendance figures were declining as well. Obviously, very complicated reasons on that. Great Electric Train Show, which is held down at Milton Keynes, actually has got increasing foot traffic, and it may well be that the NEC venue might have been a bit tricky for some people to get to in terms of cost of parking, travel to the venue. But because it was the same weekend as a lot of other shows, I've been there when there's been a bridal show on, there's been a motorbike show, I've seen a Comic-Con on there as well. It makes it very expensive because you've got things like, even as simple as hotels go up dramatically in price. I think we were quoted over £250 a night for a travel lodge at one point. A travel lodge! So there are other exhibitions that are still going on. There's still quite healthy foot traffic, but the Worley show at the NEC is not happening in 2024 and for the foreseeable future. They've not shut the door entirely on there being a Worley show in the future, but at the moment there isn't. Yeah, Russell Benton says the NEC is just too expensive and frankly a real hassle to get to. Martin Shipman, big hello. Mark Towers, who says, for me it's cost. Yeah, I think we worked out, even if you didn't stay overnight, you were looking at between cost of parking, travel, entry, all those sort of things, you know, well over £100 per person just before you'd even got to see a single thing. And I think that people are getting very, very cost conscious. It's just one of those things. Big hello to Mel's 1701, the filed flyer. J94, Johan Swanepoel, Iron Horse Railways, Richard Knowles, Upwell and onwards, the Growler Blackwood Engage layout. Says, would have gone to Worley last year, but the cost of hotels were a no-no. Yeah, that's really what put the kibosh on it for me. Was I was getting quoted like £200, £250 a night at a travel lodge. You know, that's the kind of money that you'd normally pay for quite a swanky hotel, but this was for a travel lodge. I resent paying that for a travel lodge. Excuse me.
You resent paying that for any hotel.
Well, yeah, if you're staying somewhere quite swanky, then it's all right. But it just seemed to be quite a bit. Ham Shackleton says, I see the White Garrett has come out today. Yes. One of the reasons for this is we got Richard Davies, the CEO and part owner of Hattons Model Railways, is coming on as a guest. Obviously, unless you've been living in a cardboard box floating down the canal for the last week, you can't have failed to have noticed that Hattons, a retailer of 77 years, has announced it is winding down and closing. And, you know, this is akin to the day that Atari went bust in the 80s, and there was a minute's silence on the US stock exchange.
There really was. People made jokes, but
absolutely,
it was important.
And you know, I think it stands a testament to just how much of a part of people's lives some of these companies can be. So we're going to be getting, I know he's ready and waiting, we're going to be getting Richard Davies on in the next few minutes. We're getting
But before we do that, I have a question, Jen.
Yes?
Do we have a sponsor today?
Today's sponsor is TMC, the Model Centre, your first choice for pre-orders, extensive ranges of new items as well as second-hand. So we've got a link in the description box down below, and you'll have seen the details on screen. So that's our new sponsor for the Monday Club, and we'd like to welcome them aboard. So a big thank you for that. Right, just at the moment, we...
Keep going, it's alright.
I can't read the chat, you see, when we got that up on screen. So, we're going to be getting the CEO and part owner, Richard Davies of Hattons, on via Skype. So, I've got a whole load of questions, and we're a little bit limited on being able to take questions from people in the chat. to be perfectly honest, I think a lot of people's questions are likely to be similar, if not the same. So I've compiled together a major list of 18 questions, which I want to go through today. So, right, so we got in the chat, Witham Model Railway, Harry Sedgwick says, Hellions exclusive was Hattons, LMS Bayer Garrett. Yeah, the Garrett was made for Hattons by Hellion. The same with the Class 28. If you're wondering about the Class 28 D5701 that's going around in the rail blue, that was also, whilst the model's made by Hellion, it was a Hattons exclusive. And I know quite a few people are likely to have questions about the models that were Hattons exclusives. I'm going to be asking Richard Davies about that as we move through. Other items in the news, I'll be honest, it's been very much dominated by the news of Worley ending and the news of Hattons winding down and closing. And the mainstream media as well has jumped on this bandwagon. And all I would say is don't feel things are too negative about the hobby. I mean, one of the things we are going to try and talk about today is just what the health of the hobby really is. Now, if you if you were at the Great Electric Train Show earlier this year, you'll know that it was so popular that they actually had to stop letting people in at various points on both days. It's never been that busy before. And also over the last couple of years, we've seen an increase in families getting involved in modelling off the back of TV programmes like Hornby Model World, Great Model Railway Challenge. So it is interesting to see just what the state and health of the hobby is at this time. James Pett says, I remember Great Electric Train Show. I'm very pleased I got in early. So right, we're just moving over now so we can get Richard Davies in on Skype. So I've got the comments for the stream.
Yeah, the chat is very small on that screen, and there's not much I can do about it. But
yeah,
at least we've got it. And
yeah,
that's
what you need to do is get Richard Davies dialed in. And I will have to go to my headphones. So
which means I don't get to hear anything.
Yeah, so I will. You'll need to concentrate on my hand signals. So Breezer707 asks, "Hi Jen, can you please find out for me what would be happening with the Hattons P class, as I have 2 on order?" We are going to be talking about that. Within Model Railway says, "Been a few articles in the national press about the hobby." National press? It's like there's a bandwagon passing. Ooh, let's get on this and see where it's going. Pedantic Mongrels Railway Channel, big hello to you. That sounded like something misbehaving.
Right, Richard is now on screen, so hello Richard. He's not on our screen now for the stream yet, but we are about to go live. So, are you okay, Jen? Have you broken something?
Yeah, it's
the
always,
second that we get the phone call.
The second that something happens, you find that stuff starts derailing. So, it's like anything to do with media. When you point a camera at a model train, it stops working. It can have been working perfectly. I know that that's going to cause me a nuisance if let me just and grab that. So hopefully that'll behave itself now.
Okay,
so I know that we've got Richard Davies on the line now, so I'm going to just bring him on screen. So Richard Davies, you're now on screen. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, loud and clear.
No worries, yeah. It's coming through. I can hear you as well. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know we've got a really good audience in, and it came as a big shock actually last Monday, the announcement that Hattons was winding down a start of the closing sale, and that came pretty much right before as well. We had the announcement that the Worley Model Rail Club has decided that they can't continue with the Worley Model Rail Show at the NEC. And I've been seeing all week as well newspaper articles, BBC articles, about the state of the hobby. So I want to thank you so much for coming on with us. I've got some questions for you, if it's all right to go through some of these. I know a lot of people have been asking so many questions on Facebook, on places like RM Web, and it's a great opportunity really to dispel any rumours that have been circulating, because you know how it is. It's like Chinese whispers. Before you know it, you're thinking, oh, that sounds terrible, and they go, hold on, they're talking about me. And it's
anything you like.
so. First of all, I know a lot of people have been asking about. Is there an actual closing date? Because at the moment you've got the sale on. I think it's around 35% off most items. Some items more, some items are already sold out. But is there a date? How long is this likely to run for?
I think realistically, it's going to take us another 2 or 3 weeks to conclude the sale, but it probably won't be much longer than that. As soon as the announcement was made, then sales did really accelerate. So that's one piece of consolation or good news for us, I suppose, in some perverse way.
I mean, yeah. I ordered a load of stuff. It's just come today, but I think I ordered it last Monday, and it shows really how much support there is in the community, that people have been supporting Hattons, and I'm seeing a lot of stuff. It's going from hundreds in stock down to sold out, which I guess is really good. But it's Hattons has been very much an institution of the hobby. We're talking about 77 years since Norman Hattons set up the business. And it's we were talking a little bit before about, it's a bit like when Atari in the 80s went bust. They actually held a minute's silence because of how much that company meant to people's childhoods, to their hobbies. And I guess this is the parallel. This is that moment. It's like when Hornby 00 came to an end. People were really quite shocked, that a name like Hattons will be no more. And what I was wondering was, how long have you been considering this course of action? Because I guess this is not something that you just do on a whim. There's obviously a lot of number crunching being going on in the background.
Yeah, that's true. So I think that for a while I've recognised that the traditional Hattons business model of being, well, I mean, I've never really liked the term box shifter, which I imagine you understand why, because I felt that Hattons for a long time were a lot more than a box shifter.
Yeah.
Our roots were in volume selling. But I think that in recent years, that hasn't been so much a part of our offering, i.e. the one-stop shop. So we've spent a couple of years looking for ways to keep Hattons relevant. And I think it was in September this year, it was September 23, when I realised that it was becoming more urgent, that we needed to do something about it, or that the failure to find a new spot in the market meant that we needed to do something more drastic, really.
Because, excuse me, I know that, going back, Hattons famously, we mentioned Hornby 00. One of the things that Norman Hatton had almost like his speciality was he would bulk buy items that people at the time used to say to him, like, you're mad for doing this. And in a way, he had the last laugh, because he ended up with all the stocks of Hornby 00 long after it became collectible. So you're saying that kind of business model, that there just isn't a future in that? Is it just that the opportunities are not there, or have buying habits changed?
I think that because it's so much more expensive to manufacture products now, then the brands are much more wary about producing high volumes. So there just isn't the same number of surplus products. Hattons were renowned to be the go-to place for a brand that had 500 or 1,000 or 2,000 too many of an item. So that was one of the reasons for our success.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember thinking back to buying things like Bachmann Mark One coaches for £10 each from Hattons, and it was, the good times of the sales. But I suppose if manufacturers are more savvy at judging numbers, then there isn't the opportunity for that. But in terms of shutting down the company, I mean, did you put any consideration into selling it as a going concern, or is that something that you've explored and decided it isn't feasible?
Well, I think that one of the things about Hattons is that it's when someone looks at the business and says, "Well, we're considering acquiring it," the first thing they ask is what isn't working, and so we did internally a lot of analysis of our cost base and a lot of analysis on, and a lot of time went into spending ways to, well, let's take away this profitable side of the business and split it and remove the unprofitable side of the business. But Hattons, for a good thing or a bad thing, has been built as one unit, and we found it very difficult to split it up into different components. That just didn't work for us, and I was almost a bit horrified when I discovered that, because that would be what I would call a monolith. And my 25 years at Hattons, I always prided myself on being very agile and very adaptable. But it turns out really that we struggled to adapt to what was necessary in 2024.
I mean, is there any what's actually going to happen to the Hattons name itself? Because obviously with the 77-year history, I can't think of any other model rail company that's that old. I mean, that even predates pretty much every manufacturer that's on the scene these days. Are there plans to retain the name, or will it become completely defunct?
There's a lot of people inquiring about assets, including like the IP style assets and the digital assets, physical assets. So quite likely that there will be a package put together, well, possible that we'll be able to agree a package with some party or other.
Oh, brilliant. So, one question that has also come up is, how are the Hatton staff themselves doing in terms of, are they able to find new jobs within the industry? How well has that gone?
Yeah, well, so we've got somebody who's a member of staff who's helping people with any opportunities that arise from the industry, and I have been contacted by a number of people from different organisations and have written some specific recommendations, or sometimes just past requests to department heads.
It's excellent to know, because I mean, I guess it's something that it's always very difficult when a company has to wind down in this way. So it's good to hear that people are being helped to find alternative roles. And one of the biggest questions, I guess, that's come up time and time again across Facebook, across RM Web, is what's going to happen to the Hattons original brands in terms of, a lot of people have been asking me to ask questions about the P-Class, the Andrew Barclay, but of course, I mean, I was looking into some of the brands, the models that Hattons has commissioned exclusively over the years, and we're also looking at things like the Class 28 Metrovic, the Garrett, and the Bilehack snow plows, the A4s in O-gauge. I mean, the list is huge. And actually, one of the most asked about ones is the GWR Auto tank as well, which I think you never did a follow-on run of that. So there's obviously a lot of pent-up interest in that. Have you been exploring ways of doing things with these assets?
Yeah, that's right. So the current intention is that the Genesis coaches and the Warwells we brought to market by ourselves, and they P and the AB logos we are making a decision on. But we have been contacted by numerous parties about public proposals for the tooling and for stuff in production. So we'll take a look through those, and like with the other assets, then we'll try to find the best outcome.
So it's highly likely that they will turn up with another manufacturer at some point. So people shouldn't worry that there will be no more of a particular thing. And how about the? I know that there were a number of production runs that were outstanding, and whilst some like the Biohack, I think you've said that they won't be continuing. A lot of people have asked about P classes that they've got pre-orders for. Is there anything specific that they need to do with that? If their production is still going ahead, do they need to move their pre-orders, or is that still being handled by Hattons?
That's a good question. It kind of relates to the what we've done with the other pre-orders. So pre-orders for regular products being released to the general market, what we did as part of the initial announcement of our closing was we kind of we steered people, let's say, towards our friends at Rails of Sheffield to move the pre-orders there. But that was about all we did, really. We haven't automatically transferred any orders, but we know that Rails stock the same range as us, or a greater range of us in some ways. So that's just our advice about where people can move the pre-order to.
So essentially, people need to proactively place another order, but you've recommended Rails. There's also, presumably, they can also do that with any other retailer that stocks the particular model or is planning to stock the particular model that's forthcoming.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Sorry, just to go back to that question, which originated about the Hattons Originals. So if the Hattons Originals were to be moved to a different brand, a different retailer, then we'd do the same thing, as in we would email and let people know where they were moving to.
So anybody who's got a pre-order would be told where they'd need to go to get that model.
Yeah.
Do with things like the Class 28, I know it was made for you by Hellion, but you own the tooling. I take those will, along with the more prominent Hattons Originals like the P class, those will ultimately end up with another manufacturer at some point, or will they go back to Hellion? I'm not quite sure how those ones worked.
Yeah, potentially. We'll need to have a chat with Hellion. I think there is a lot of interest, particularly a lot of requests for more runs of the 28, and probably the Buyer Garrett could do with another run pretty soon. So that's so at this stage, really, I just like to see as many products, as much as the work we've done in the past, be utilised to bring to the market.
And in terms of warranty on the things like the P class, when they do come through, have you made a provision? I presume you've made a provision for dealing with if there's any warranty issues. Is that going to be handled by a particular retailer or a manufacturer? Is something in place for that?
Well, that's part of the reason for a tie-in being an advantage, is that someone will be able to buy with confidence, knowing that they're being support, that they've got that support there ongoing.
So people can still order them with absolute confidence.
Correct.
Brilliant. Hattons have had a long and varied business life as a retailer. And in more recent years, you've obviously with the Hattons Originals that we touched on, as something of a manufacturer as well. Which, in your opinion, presented more challenges with specific reference to involved overhead costs, quality control processes, that kind of thing?
Well, I'm a software engineer originally, but I would say that the nice thing about being a software engineer is that when your product doesn't work, you can spend 10 minutes hastily rewriting the code, and then it does work. when you're manufacturing real products, then when a shipment arrives from China and you discover something that you had intended to do, then it's a lot more difficult to make a change. So I've got a huge respect for people that bring physical products to the market.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that it takes huge amounts of commitment. And I think that sometimes I think that it can be it's very tough to bring a product to the market and to sometimes be so close. And so that's, like I say, I think that we should be very grateful for people who are prepared to invest in manufacturing. And I salute those who continue to put money into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's very easy from outside, I guess, to criticize a model, but you've been through the process of getting a model designed from just an idea. We want to make X, Y, or Z as a ready-to-run model. You've experienced that entire process, what goes into that, and I guess it gives you a much deeper understanding and respect to what manufacturers in general have to go through. I mean, was that quite a steep learning curve to go from primarily a retailer to commissioning your own exclusive models in that way?
I think that we're despite what's happened, I think we're a tough lot at Hattons. So I think we've always been able to power through. And I think that the lessons that we learned along the way with manufacturing, we did do well to continually improve. I think we won a lot of awards during the peak of 18, 19. We were really really impressive. I think that we just a retailer that stands there and announces 200 steam locos, the P and the AB, and one release to getting the press to Hattons and showing them there. I think we were really really dynamic in that period.
Absolutely. And another question which a lot of people have asked is to do with the Hattons website. It's built up a lot of information over the years in terms of things like prototype formations. There's a lot of really good information on there. There's a lot of information on things like past models. So you can go and look up photographs of models, see what the specification were, things like that. And it's considered an incredible resource in the hobby. And I think a lot of people are worried. Is there a plan to move that somewhere? Has anybody offered to take it on? What's going to happen to that wealth of information that's currently on the Hattons website?
Yeah, it's a good question. Thanks for those positive remarks about it. Yeah, that was another labour of love, really. The directory. We built something that we would want for ourselves. At the moment now, it's going to be. We're trying to find out a way to run it cheaply. It consumes a lot of resources. The whole website is expensive to run. Yeah. If we can find a way for it to become cost efficient to run, maybe supported by advertising, then maybe someone would want to take it on. But I know that people have talked about a paid for model, but I think that as soon as you start introducing charges, then people quickly quickly lose interest.
Yeah, so it's you find that it a bit like a lot of the media organisations, when they've introduced a paywall on their website, the traffic drops dramatically, and I suppose that's not the ethos about what the directory on Hattons was about. It was about having all this information in one place, I guess. So if there's an organisation out there, say, who is willing to help with keeping that there, should they get in contact? Is the door open to have a third party help with keeping that there?
Yeah, so there are some parties who are interested in some of the components, and that is the main thing, is that because this software system is so this is one software system that runs Hattons. So it is pretty much kind of someone who's going to do a deal for us would be quite likely to buy it all.
Yeah.
The business model behind the directory really was to harvest user information, email addresses of people who are interested in acquiring the products, so that when we then got them available secondhand, we then email people and let them know that's available. That system does work well.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of innovations from Hattons over the years, and a lot of things like the trunk service, the directory, have really kind of pushed the market to embrace new things, to do new things. And do you think that going forward, that's going to be difficult for the market to adjust to without not having somebody who's prepared to push the boundaries, who's prepared to try something new, to see what works and what doesn't?
I think that maybe one criticism or one reflection for what's happened with Hattons is maybe a little bit too much innovation, and maybe the balance should have been on just running a calm, profit-making operation.
Yeah.
But as for the future, for what's required for the industry, I think that people need to kind of choose their lane, i.e., know what they're about and know what their business model is, and then focus on it, and not necessarily get too distracted with trying to be. I think maybe like Hattons maybe tried to be everything to everyone, and I mentioned earlier about box shifting retailers, but I think the future of the industry is potentially more boutique retailers, as in companies who've got a specific area where they know they're going to be able to well look after. So maybe in the future, there'll just be different profiles of retailer.
I mean, many retailers, just to go back to the COVID period, many retailers saw an increase in growth in the hobby over that lockdown period. I guess a lot of people were stuck at home, needed to occupy their time. And the hobby seemed to be one of the big winners through the lockdown period. But do you think this bounce, this growth in the hobby at that period was actually masking something more serious? I know there's a lot of newspaper articles at the moment about, all's not well in the world of the hobby of model railways. And whether you agree with that or not, I mean, do you think that COVID bounce was actually masking something serious in decline that's been happening for quite some time?
Well, I think there's a few things in there. So certainly during COVID, a lot of retailers were practically forced into starting modernizing their operations. So a lot of retailers, I think, did very well because they adapted the likes of Shopify or BigCommerce and they got to kind of reinvent their business. And so COVID was a catalyst for a new era for them. Yeah, but I also kind of agree that I think there's a lot of people who, in the run up to COVID, they'd always been aspiring to build a model railway. Then COVID comes along, and so they've got the opportunity where they've got the time. So they all of a sudden get a rush of new customers. I would call it brought forward demand, basically. So all the people who were going to retire in 21, 22, 23, 24, they all seem to retire in 2020. And so that then caused an influx of new customers, but that means that 21, 22, 23 are quieter because there's not so many people naturally coming into the hobby.
So it's almost like you get a peak that's followed by a trough because what the sales you would have had in that trough made up the peak, so to speak.
Correct. Yeah. So I think like during COVID, huge numbers of people bought new garden furniture because everybody was sitting out in the garden. So now, as a result, garden furniture retailers are very quiet in the years after.
Yeah.
So I think it'll take a couple of years to just get back into that pattern of people gradually coming into the hobby.
I mean, do you think that hurt the hobby in that people almost expected that that boost to last forever, and when it didn't, they've kind of overstretched themselves a bit?
Well, I mean, it happened in every area of retail where retailers extrapolated the sales patterns and got carried away buying too much stock. But I wouldn't say that necessarily occurred with Hattons, because we had very tight stock control. But I definitely think it's changed the way that people come into the hobby.
One of the things that Hattons has really expanded over the years is the sale of second hand. Have you found that second hand tends to do better than new stuff? I know that price is always the thing that people talk about. I mean, in fairness, people have been moaning about the price of model railways since the 1950s, 1960s, but certainly recently with the rise of the cost of manufacturing in China, have you seen a renewed interest in the second-hand side of the business?
Yeah. So secondhand was a very important part of our business model, but I always wanted to have a very interesting website with people coming to the website just to see what was there. Secondhand has got a magical kind of, I wonder what's going to be there today kind of thing. So I think that our website was very compelling because of that. Every day at 5:30, email goes out and lets thousands of people know that today's stuff is on there. That was one of the things I thought kept us very very compelling.
I mean, I think for me, one of the big things about Hattons was that certainly for a great many years, it was much easier to see what was in stock as opposed to things that were sold out. And that was one of the big selling points of Hattons, was that you could see at a glance if what you wanted to buy was there to buy, and you wouldn't end up with it stuck on back order. One of the most useful parts of the Hattons website for me was the what's new in the last 30 days or 60 days, and it made it very easy to keep track of new models coming through, so that you didn't miss something that you really, really wanted, which was something that I felt that Hattons did incredibly well compared to other retailers where you really had to hunt. But I mean,
just to tell you a bit of a. We had a phone call once where a guy says, "Oh, hello, I've just I'm in the hospital. I've been in a coma for 9 months. Can you tell me what Hornby have released during the last 9 months, please?" And I was just proud that Hattons was the go-to place for that sort of query. Someone rang up once and said, "Oh, I found these items in this wagon I bought, and I don't know what to do with them." So we looked up on the computer, and this customer hadn't bought from us in maybe 3 years. We told him the answer, and then said, "Just out of interest, I can't see your order on the system." And he said, "No, I didn't buy it from you. I bought it from the swap meet on the weekend, but I just knew you'd know the answer."
And I mean, that just shows how much of an institution Hattons was, being the go-to place. Just like with Atari in the 80s, I think when Hattons shuts the door for the final time, when the closing down sale ends, I guess there will be a minute of silence in the model railway community for what has been such an institution. You say you've been with Hattons for, I think you said 25 years. I mean so did you join when it was at Smithdown Road? Then that would have been.
Yeah, they were still at 180 Smithdown Road.
Right. See, I mean, you've seen the entire transition of the hobby from being very shop based, you had to turn up in person, to this a society now which seems to insist on buying everything mail order on the internet. I mean, has that been quite a change then from the early days when you joined Hattons?
Yeah, well, it's full very. Yeah, so Hattons maybe had 6 or 7 employees when I first went in there and introduced myself to Keith Hatton. Norman was still working, but approaching retirement. And it was in 1999 when I agreed to build them the website and set up their e-commerce for them.
And I guess that was another area where Hattons were very much first on the block in terms of embracing the internet and the idea of internet mail order.
Yeah, so I had actually gone into Hattons to purchase some stuff for my father, and it was whilst I was in there that I could see there was a ringing, the phone was busy ringing. There was quite a lot of shop customers, and that was when it occurred to me that Hattons would do well selling online. So that was why, rather than buying my dad's stuff, I spoke to Keith Hatton, and then within a short period we were selling online. He did comment that some of the international customers had been asking for Hattons to set up a website, but he just at that time didn't know how to do it.
Yeah, because I can remember back in the 1990s, I think there was an AOL email address, and in the Railway Modeller advert, it was a case of if you wanted to buy mail order on the internet, you sent an email to an AOL email address with a list.
Absolutely.
And yeah. For younger people watching, I think it's very easy to overlook just how much of a paradigm shift we've had in society with the rise of the internet. In 1998, 1999. I don't think there was even Amazon or anything like that. These a lot of these sites that people take for granted now just didn't exist. So for Hattons to be there, right at the cutting edge of e-commerce, it just shows how innovative Hattons has always been.
I think Amazon. I think Amazon were there quite early on, because I think I bought books from Amazon.
Yeah, they did books. They were an online book retailer.
So I think, but you're right. Then features. So some of the features that we introduced, I remember adding the service when you could give us your email address and we would let you know when something was in stock.
Yes.
And it was a few years after that when Amazon added that same service to their website. So it was good at that time. You could every day build things very, very simply and have a big effect.
And over the years, have you seen a change as well in the demographic of the kind of people who are actually into model railways in terms of gender and age? Has there been a change, or fundamentally, is it a very similar segment of the population as it has always been?
I think so. I do think that the stereotypes kind of, if you go to a model railway exhibition, it's mostly men, isn't it? There, I think that there's a mix of opinions about different generations coming into the hobby. I think some exhibition you mentioned earlier about the Worley exhibition closing, but there are events like the Great Electric Train Show and Key Publishing have got another event starting in the NEC this year. So I think there's two sides to the exhibition story. I think maybe Worley is just kind of that group of people that put that on have just reached the stage where it's not for them anymore. I don't think that necessarily means that there's a decline in the market.
Yeah, I mean, you were at Great Electric Train Show earlier this year as well, and I've never seen it so busy. I mean, it was very much a beacon for the people still being interested in the hobby. But have you also seen a change maybe as well in the kinds of things that people are buying? One of the questions that I was asked to ask was, have you seen, for example, a decline in sales of steam locomotives in favour of more modern diesel locomotives, or has the split between steam and diesel been fairly constant?
I can't remember who it was who came up with the theory, but there is some sort of theory along the lines of the 40-year gap that sales of a product will always do well when it's based on a prototype from 40 years ago.
Yeah.
So in that case, then going back to 1984, if the theory is correct, going back to 1984 and looking what was in traffic in VR, 1984 would do best. So class 50s and 47s and 37s, I suppose, would be that.
But then again, I mean, the other end of the scale, we've seen this rise of pre-grouping models seem to be a very popular. I think, you know, obviously you've got the P class has been a very popular model, and we've also seen a rise of 009 as well in the hobby, with a lot of models of particularly Festiniog prototypes, which have been really successful. But what do you think the future holds for the hobby? Where do you think it goes from here?
I think that technology has allowed companies to be much more compact and agile, and the internet has changed things. So I think that organizations that rather than building the organization around what they think, I think the organization needs to be built around what the consumers want. And I think that just as long as the organizations are in tune with the customers, then and utilizing but not overutilizing the software that's available, and just putting the commerce and the consumer at the center.
And how important do you think price has been? We touched on the price of models. Manufacturing in China has the cost of that has risen quite a lot. Do you think that has harmed the hobby, or do you think that that's not really a factor in what's happening in the hobby?
Well, I'm a little bit out. Sometimes when you see a comparison of, let's just say it costs 150 today and it cost 25 in 1984, I don't know what that means in real terms compared to, you know, what percentage of the average weekly wage is it?
I think when you work out the prices, model railways have comparatively always been quite expensive as a hobby, and if you inflation adjust, so it's like basically what would say £25 in 1984 in real terms, what buying power would that have now? And when people do the sums, actually, it comes out at about comparable, which is, I always find it is quite interesting that models now in real terms don't really cost that much more than they ever did, and you get a lot more for your money. I mean, you compare a model that you'll buy brand new now with the sort of thing that you would have bought in the early 1980s. There's no comparison. One's a model, a precision model, and the other one's just a toy.
Yeah, I agree. I think that probably the bigger factor is actually that there's just more competition for people's time. So the reason I got into trains was when I remember as a child being bored and telling my parents that me and my brother and my sister were bored, so we were directed by our parents to go to the train station to watch trains as a form of entertainment. And now I don't think that there's any shortage of things for children or for adults to be distracted by, mostly because digital has made it so much easier to be occupied by YouTube or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think I always say that the thing that model railways is realistically competing against is stuff like video games. That's the other hobby vying for the attention of young people, I guess. I think
YouTube itself. I think a lot of people spend a lot of time watching YouTube, and I think that maybe sometimes I don't know, but I even think some of the really detailed reviews of products sometimes may leave people saying, "Well, I've watched the review. I don't know whether I even need to buy it."
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one. I mean, I'm speaking from the point of view of somebody who does do those reviews. And there's an element of people want to see what they're getting before they pay for it. But at the same token, I think YouTube is a strange place in that Schadenfreude and look at this, it's rubbish, is what seems to get a lot of views. So there's almost this distortion in the videos that the videos that find a problem, whether it really exists or not, are the ones which get all the traffic, which encourages people to do just that, to get the traffic. But it's a difficult one, I guess.
Like a shock jock kind of.
Yeah, it's like the Howard Stern kind of thing. You end up with a lot more views, but at the expense of the hobby in a way. It's
in general, I think that just people just don't have as much time as they did, and so. But I do think that the caliber of the products that are produced nowadays is so much different to the 1980s. And you mentioned the prices in China going up, but I think we've got China to thank for the resurgence of the hobby. China and the internet itself helped make having an interest like model railways just so much more accessible.
Yeah. Because I mean, in the 1990s, early 1990s, models were still very basic. It was like things hadn't really moved on much, and if anything, the models made by Hornby 00 in the 1960s would still hold their own against a lot of the product ranges that were on the market in the late 1980s, early 1990s. And I guess what China gave to the hobby was cost-effective manufacturing of things which previously only skilled kit builders could have actually have replicated. And we've seen I think it was with it might have been with Dave Martin when I did an interview at Hattons. One of the questions I actually asked was, how has the advances in technology actually aided Hattons to make models that 5 or 10 years previously would have been impossible to bring to market in a cost-effective way. And I think he said that there was things on the P class that even a couple of years previously wouldn't have been cost-effective to do in terms of the printing on the buffer shanks on the South Eastern and Chatham Railway livery. He said something is, you don't really think about it, but printing on a curved surface and getting that printing going exactly where it's supposed to be was something that China gave to us in the technological advancement.
Well, I do agree, but even it's to the point where there's a particular factory in China that is incredibly committed to improving the caliber of the printing. And you've got, like Hattons in many ways that have innovated, and you've got particular factory owners in China who are very, very committed to pushing things on. So yeah, I do think that we've been fortunate to live in a very progressive era.
And just to round off the interview, I mean, we've been on for nearly 3/4 of an hour now, so I don't want to keep you on too long. But how do you personally feel about the winding down of Hattons? So you've been there for 25 years. It's your company, your baby. You've overseen a lot of the changes and the innovations at Hattons. Is it difficult to make a decision to have to wind the business down?
Yeah, it's extremely difficult, because even though all of the decisions have been taken with lots of people around the table, then ultimately it has been me who's been having to force us to be pragmatic. And even though you could say from one perspective, well, it's a business, it needs to be healthy, then there's still an emotional attachment with it. And I've always said that even though I've got a lot of interest in software and innovation, there was nowhere else I would rather work than Hattons. And so that's still the case, really. So yeah, it is with huge regret that we couldn't make it work.
And what are your plans now going forward? What do you have plans for what you're going to be doing next, or is that still not thought about?
So the main plan really is to just we've got loads of orders to deal with, and we've got lots of new situations are connected with winding things up, and so we've got great people, our staff to help on this journey. But like I say, it's the first time for myself, so we'll just that's my priority is of dealing with all those things right underneath my nose first, and then seeing where I end up after that.
Yeah, I mean it's obviously a lot going on at the moment, and I mean it's Hattons has been such an intrinsic part of the DNA of the hobby for a long time. Going back to 1946. It's very difficult for me personally to suddenly realise I'm saying goodbye to an institution as long-lived, as loved, and as successful as Hattons. I mean, I can remember going into the shop in the 1980s, and I was only a small child, and holding conversation with Norman Hatton about Hornby 00, because that was my thing, and I made it my mission to know everything about Hornby 00. And there's so many happy memories which I can bring up from there to my discovery or rediscovery of the hobby after university when I was working at the BBC. And I can remember as an adult suddenly having this realization, hold on, I don't need to ask anybody's permission to buy something. And, just jumping in the car and driving over to Hattons. And, the thing I loved about Hattons was that you could pick up where you left off. You could walk in and it was like you'd never been away. And it's like the hobby would go, welcome back. We knew you'd be back. And it is quite sad to think that that's the end. I mean, what do you think the industry needs to do to make the hobby work? I mean, what would be your advice to other retailers in the sector?
I think you need to ensure. See, when we were talking about COVID earlier, I feel that COVID was very good for the smaller retailers. It gave them the opportunity to the tech. Some of them made real improvements to the software that they use to sell with, and I think that's there's lots of smaller shops who are doing well because of that impetus that the COVID period gave them. So I think that the key thing as a retailer, I think, is controlling the costs and making sure your consumers are happy and not trying to be everything to everyone. Choosing some boutique services, whether it's weathering or customization or sort of digital. That there's plenty in this hobby for retailers to distinguish themselves from others, and I still believe that word of mouth is still an incredibly important way of advertising. And I'm not sure whether Facebook and Google advertising is all it's cracked up to be, because I think sometimes you just end up making Google and Facebook richer.
Yeah, there is that. And I guess the thing that you can't get from Google and Facebook and Amazon and these big companies is the personal service that that model shops could do. You can't ring up Amazon and get the advice that you talked about customers doing before. You can't do that with these big faceless corporations. But do you see the hobby dying out? Will it die out, or do you think it will manage to reinvent itself?
Well, if there's one good thing I think that can come from what's happened with Hattons and Wally is that maybe some people who who needed to review things will be prompted to do it earlier rather than later, because this might be a kind of a sort of a prompt for someone to say, well, I'm going to have a look at these finances. I'm going to check these out now rather than avoiding them and facing the reality. But I think that there's a strong future for the hobby, and there's still lots of firms who are innovating, and that's who I think is the lifeblood of the industry, is the people who are innovating in physical products.
Absolutely, and I'm just looking at the chat now with such an outpouring of affection for Hattons. You know, I think when the news broke last Monday, we just couldn't believe it. And you know, looking at the comments, everybody I think is going to miss Hattons, and everybody has their own personal stories about their journey with Hattons. You know, we're going to miss you guys. And look, you know, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us. Thank you for really quite candidly answering all the questions. And you know, hopefully, you know, maybe we'll still see you at coming to shows as a visitor in the future. We're certainly going to miss you guys. So thank you so much. And look, you take great care of yourself, because I know that, you know, the hardest part is not necessarily now, because you've got so much on your plate to deal with. I guess the hardest part for you will be when that's done and it's finished. And, you know, just make sure that you take care of yourself, because that can hit you quite hard when it all does finally finish.
Well, thank you very much, Jenny. But thanks also for what you've done for the hobby, because, you know, I do think that even though I made that remark about YouTube reviews, I do think that the internet and the community that exists do a lot to help people enter the hobby. Things have changed, and your show and your contribution, and it's just always been good meeting you at these events and always listening to what you've got to say. So I think you're very important for the industry too.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's, for me, it's a passion for the hobby, and you know, I think it's been important. You know, a lot of people have in the hobby have kind of poo-pooed some of the things like Hornby and Model World and Great Model Railway Challenge, and this idea of building trains that run upside down or building Dr. Evil's volcano lair. But actually, it's fun stuff like that, thinking outside the box, like the Loco Lady's knitted trees. That's what brings young people into the hobby, I guess. And, you know, from a selfish point of view, the more people I can get into the hobby, the more likely it is that I can get that model of the J92 made ready to run by somebody so I can buy one. But no, look, thank you so much. And look, it's been an absolute...
Would you mind me just adding, I know there's a lot of customers who are watching the show this evening, so we have received many thousands of orders in the last week or so. So we are running maybe 4 or 5 days behind on actually shipping those orders. But I just want to assure everybody that we will get those orders out. But and I apologise for the backlog.
No, that's quite all right. I mean, it's been I guess it's been pretty mega. I know I ordered some stuff last week on the Monday, and it's just arrived today. So I understand that it's probably quite frantic in your warehouse, and because your website, it used to say 10+ for items, and it's changed to actually show the in-stock figures, and just seeing products go from several hundred in stock to sold out, I can imagine it's certainly been very, very busy. So look, don't worry, we know you'll get them out okay. And just a reminder as well to anybody who's got a pre-order for non-Hattons originals, they will need to actively switch them to another retailer. It won't happen automatically. I think a few people weren't quite sure about that. But look, thank you so much. Take care of yourself, and we're going to have a minute of silence in respect for Hattons that has been such a part of so many people's hobby over the years, going all the way back to 1946. And I know that I'm seeing in the comments they're whizzing by. There's a lot of people with some great memories through the years, through the decades of service from Hattons, of models that they got from Hattons, and you will be sorely missed. It's a dark day when we lose such a major retailer. But look, thank you so much.
Thanks, Jenny.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
So a big thank you there to Richard Davies from Hattons, current CEO. It's just, I'm getting all emotional now, but it really is one of those moments that I think the hobby is reeling from. I'm looking in the comments here. We've got Mark Wilson says, "Thank you, Richard. Really appreciate you coming and talking to us." Wiven Model Railway says, I expected the delays. Don't worry. Katie Walker says, "Backlog on orders is to be expected." Joe Light Railway says, "Bye everyone." R.I.P. Hattons. Wiven Model Railway says, "Might buy some Dakotas." Richard Swiderski says, "Well said, Jenny. R.I.P. Hattons." Harry Cedric says, "Bye, Richard Davies." There's a few questions that I haven't been able to ask for reasons, but we've gone over a large number of questions that have been asking online. And yeah, Keith Dulson, thank you so much. Yes, do hit the like button. Don't forget to share the stream as well, and also subscribe to the channel if you're not already done so, to be the first to know about new videos as and when they go up. Oh my word, gosh. Is there a reason that the chat is suddenly whizzing off?
The chat is trying to catch up.
Ah, that would be it. So yeah, we're really, I think the model railway world is having its Atari moment. For me, my journey with Hattons as a customer started in the late 1980s when my father and I took a trip over there. And at the time, my dad was in the Hornby Railway Collectors Association, and I think somebody had said, "Oh, there's a shop in Liverpool that buys and sells Hornby 00." So it was like, "Oh, well, let's go and explore." And that was the start for me of a lot of happy trips over to Liverpool from where we lived in Manchester, and buying Hornby 00 that was the love that I shared as a child with my dad. So not only was it those happy memories of going over there and finding something that you'd been looking for, and my father and I still talk about in almost hallowed tones the trip we went over there and found and bought a Southern Rail. And this means nothing to anybody who doesn't know Hornby 00. But found and bought a Southern Railway tin plate open wagon. And
it was so happy, weren't you?
My dad and I still talk about that, like 35 years later, because it was like we found one at Hattons. I can remember talking with Norman Hatton, and he'd have his brown shop coat on. And if he liked the look of you, if he was in it, he thought that you would look after it. I can remember he used to go, I've got something in the stock room that you might like. And he'd wander off and he'd come back and he brought out brand new, and it was brand new, it wasn't second hand, because Hattons was a Meccano dealer back in the day, and he'd bought them from Meccano in the closing down sale. So technically, I was still buying brand new Hornby 00 in the late 80s, early 1990s. And he'd just trot one of these out casually and go, "There you are for you, 20 quid. And, I remember that so well. My father thought this was amazing, that this young child could
get deals.
Yeah, well, no, could just hold their own in conversation with Norman Hatton, and he just sort of, I guess he saw the enthusiasm in me, and he'd go, "Oh, I've got something that might interest you," and he'd go into the back room and he'd come back with a brand new Hornby 00
He
super
treated
detailed
you like
kit.
a person, not as a kid.
I think, yeah, he respected that. I wasn't trying to BS him. Yeah, lots. Yeah, 600. I think we've broken the record on the stream. 683 watching at one point.
Says at one point we had 710 on one day, but not tonight. Apparently, that's our record.
Is it? I've never seen that.
No, I haven't either.
The most I've ever seen is 503.
The amount of people that have come in tonight is just an indicator of the strength of feeling for what we're losing.
I mean, I got back into the hobby after university with a trip to Hattons, and this realization that it's like, oh, I could buy that. I don't have to ask permission. I mean, this idea, like, I have a debit card. I got used to this at university and that. And it's like, I own a car. I've got a debit card. I don't need to ask anybody to buy model trains. I can just make this happen. And that's, going and I bought a Bachmann Ivet 262 tank locomotive. And it was like, yeah, I'll have one of these because it was just... There's so many happy memories. I don't know where to start. James Pett says, this is a very significant interview. Well done to Jenny for doing this. Thank you so much. Ben Davis says, R.I.P. Hattons. I've been shopping for over 20 years. I will miss you. Don't worry, Jennifer. I'm crying. Don't care. Hattons was more than a shop. Very much. Hattons was more than a shop. It was an institution. It was the backbone of our hobby, and there's been
when you compared it during the interview, when you compared it to the minute silence when Atari went off the stock exchange, it is that equivalent.
Absolutely. I think it's only right that we hold a minute's silence the day that the Hattons sale comes to an end, that they are finally closed for good. We here on the Monday Club will hold a minute of silence for Hattons because they've always been there, and it's very weird that something that has always been there suddenly isn't.
Yeah.
Jerry BVR says, and now Jenny has to ask grown-ups permission to buy stuff again, and so he knows all too well.
I feel bad for anyone who asks me permission for things.
The Growler Blackwood N-gauge layout, yes. Dongett's model railways. I guess he couldn't say anything specific about relationships with Bachmann and Hornby. I think that there was, I don't think there was anything to be gained by raking over old ground.
That I think to a certain extent that is the thing. Some things happen during your time as a person in business, and it's not necessarily a good idea to keep bringing those things back up. If the past is the past, let it stay there sometimes.
Russell Benton says, my first Hattons purchase was a Hornby 1976 catalogue, paid by postal order. Gosh, remember those. Right, you keep an eye on the
I am keeping an
angle.
eye.
We haven't been moving the angles around. Mark Wilson says, cracking interview. What a coup to get Richard on, as I'm sure he has many issues on his plate. Well done, great question.
Yeah, it can't be easy for him at the moment.
And I know from experience, working in high-pressure environments, that I guess when you're dealing with something as serious as winding down a 77-year-old company, there's a lot on your plate. You're very focused in what you're doing. And as I said there, it's the difficult time comes when that ends. And all of a sudden, that's when the emptiness hits. And, that's why I said, you've got to know it's coming and be ready for it, because I think that's going to be the difficult time for Richard. And, obviously we are always here for him.
Yeah.
TARDIS by the signal box, says Katie Walker. Yes.
My goodness.
The doctor is in. David,
you're all really eagle-eyed with the TARDIS. Where's the other
David
one?
Scott says, it would be interesting to see if there would be an uptick in visits to the smaller model shops as a result in Hattons closing. I think that yes.
I would like to say yes, not because not because I think that Hattons has been like scooping them all up over the years, but because I don't want to feel. I hope that by Hattons closing, it doesn't mean that some people just stop.
No, I don't think they will. I think that there'll be a lot of business will go elsewhere. I suspect that a small number of large shops will probably take the lion's share. But, do bear in mind there are a lot of local shops out there, and, it's never been so poignant as to say use it or lose it.
Yes.
At the end of the day, what happens winding down has shown us that even the very long-standing shops can disappear if you don't support them. And we've seen obviously a lot of support over the last week, so much so that actually it's slowed down Hatton's ordering dispatching system. Van Gogh, opportunity for Rails, but I think also opportunity for a lot of other retailers. And we should name check other retailers and stress that if you had a pre-order with Hattons, that will not automatically transfer elsewhere. Hattons Originals special case, Hattons will notify you where that model is going to deal with that. But if you've got a regular pre-order for, say, something from the Hornby 2023 or the Bachmann, the last Acura scale or something like that, you need to manually intervene and place that order with another retailer. Now, Hattons have floated Rails' name out because they know that they stock all the same range. But do remember that there are other retailers. Kerno Model Centre, TMC, the Model Centre, 53A Models, the Loco Shed, Arcadia Rail, Invicta Models in Sidcup. We've got Southampton Model Centre, Hereford Model Centre, Cheltenham Model Centre, Great Eastern Models. We've got, and there's loads which I've managed to miss, but Frysing Hall Models as well, Harbin Hobbies up in Edinburgh. Do support your local model shops. Widnes Model Centre, Durham
Nuffy's down in Bolton.
Nuffy's Models in Bolton, Durham Trains of Stanley. All of these model shops, you need to support them or lose them. And unfortunately, what we're seeing this week is that even the behemoths of the industry can reach a point where the business model doesn't work. Jane's Trains in Tooting, says James Pets. Collett, says Hot Dog Pilot Andy. DCC Train Automation, says Flint Hills Mother Railway Jeff Hammond. And yeah, Knockers Lane. This is an opportunity for all small model shops to fill the void. But I think they do need to take heed to Richard Davies' advice that they need to be specialist. They need to have their USP, their unique selling point. And sometimes if you try to be everything to everyone, you can spread yourself too thin.
And also, what's been pointed out a couple of times already, they need their website to be good.
Yes, I think that is quite important.
It can't just look like an advert in the pages of your model magazine anymore. That's not what people want now.
Digitrains, says Charles Duncan, and Little Britain as well. Chester Model Centre, says Richard Swiderski. Peter Spares in Middlesbrough, says Michelle78. Tops Trains in Stafford, says Simon Trains. Model Railway Showcase. Nick at Bleshton High Level says, definitely, I've never felt more strongly about supporting my local hobby shop. Jerry BVR says, sadly, many of the other online retailers won't ship overseas. Thank you, Brexit. And
here's the thing about that. Brexit was years ago now. It's 2024.
I think the problem is...
What we need to do is sort out all of this mess that we've got of VAT and customs charges. There should be one form, it should be easy, and it should be possible to do by any retailer in minutes. It's not.
the bottom line is there should not be unreasonable barriers to doing business.
Yes, and what I'd like to reiterate is that we were told that this would be sorted, and it wasn't.
Unfortunately not, no. Raymond Anthony 127 reminds us that TMC, the Model Centre and Rails of Sheffield, do ship worldwide. AGR models, they're in Leighton Buzzard. I think that's Leighton Buzzard. They are also your local model shop. Blackwood the Growler Blackwood Engage layout says C&M models in Carlisle. Rainbow Railways in Linlithgow says Hannings Rest Model Road. Loads and loads of local model shops. Tony Wright says Buffers Model Railways, Axminster. So there's a lot of local shops. So don't forget to, if you had pre-orders with Hattons, get them moved over. I think we are going to see all of the former Hattons exclusive models reappear. They are an asset at the end of the day. They're not going to just get junked, thrown away, or tucked in a cupboard and forgotten about. So I think even the DJ models produced 14XX is going to turn up at some point.
Okay, Jen, I think for the moment we need to save your voice. You may be sounding better, but you're not entirely 100%, are you?
Oh, we're going to get there.
Are we really?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Nick at Bletchton High Level says, big up to Maria at Buffers and everybody at the Buffers posse. And
Buffers posse?
Flymo Chairman says, thank you everyone for the model shop. Great stuff, folks. But Dongit's Model Row says, thing is, Hattons was shipping to outside the EU well before Brexit was a thing. I used to order from Hattons to get stuff when I lived in Australia. I think as well there's been a tightening of things like general sales tax being applied in other countries. So whereas mail order stuff tended to fly in below the radar, I think a lot of countries have tightened up on that.
Not just that, but it's got expensive to send stuff. And a fair few smaller shops don't want to have to deal with that.
There's a lot of aggro. I know when I worked at DCC Concepts, there was certain you do everything right, and they would just bounce the parcel back from customs because they felt like it.
Because someone wanted to feel powerful and important. Or the time that I tried to send 2 books to America, and they wanted £40 to send them.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I can't afford that. And a lot of other people couldn't afford that. Trying to make ends meet as a small business person, it's just
the
not
TARDIS
possible.
has been spotted. Warbler Productions, now there's a surprise. So, do we have videos?
We have a small amount.
So,
not a huge amount, only a tiny, tiny amount.
Why has Norman Price come to
Norman
visit?
Price, what are you doing with all those fires? You naughty boy.
Yeah, big hello to Skipsy Trains. Is Skipsy Trains in 57305? Northern Princess says, I hope to wrestle on that somebody buys the Genesis coach tooling. I wouldn't worry about that. I think that all of these models will reappear. I mean, EFE Rail would be an obvious place for some of them to turn up.
Raymond, what are
Legs.
you saying? I've got to translate this now with Google Translate.
Okay, so whilst the Cupboard Monkey is on a mission, I can't read the chat.
I just need to know what he said. There's a reason why we use English all the time, and we basically insist on English because we don't know what's going on. Right. I thought that might be some of what you'd said.
Apparently, it was Darth Putin's fault.
Yeah,
right,
because
anyway,
I can
chat,
recognise that.
Can I have the chat back? Thank you.
You want the chat back?
Dominic Z, our Kickline correspondent. Great to see you. Hope you are well. Vic Freak says, I wouldn't be surprised if Rapido take on the tooling for the 14XX. Hopefully, they will redesign the mechanism. I'll be honest, I think the P-Class is one which would probably be right up Rapido's alley. Big hello to Mrs. Skipsy. Great to see you. Hope you're well. Don't forget, everybody, tickle that like button, share the stream, and also consider subscribing to the channel to be the first to know about new videos as and when they go up. So
we've got a very short video, and this is from Zantek, who says, on Thursday, Sarah and I went to see the Alsager Model Railway Club. I'm about to explode, sorry. Oh my goodness.
See, this is what I live with.
Oh my goodness. Explosive decompression, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I don't know why I've gone for this accent either, but
Nobody else does either. So I'm just going to
my goodness.
reassemble my tray.
I'm exploderizing. So, yes, he went to the Alsager Model Railway Club. On the running section of the Newcastle by the Water layout, one of the club members had a couple of A4 locos on the layout. Miss Jenny has a slight liking for the A4.
Can I just say I bought another one?
She's unstoppable.
Oh, by the way, I didn't pay much for it, honest. Dominion of Canada came up at a really good price, and I couldn't turn it down. So, Dominion of Canada is winging its way to join the collection.
So, let's have a look at this. I believe it's the East Coast Greyhounds.
Okay, so pressing... I like that bridge. I'm guessing that's through... Oh gosh, that's quick.
Beep, beep.
They've got some kind of perspex across the front. Oh, DP1.
Deltic, beep, beep, beep.
Can I just say, I really do appreciate the bridge. The bridge is...
You love a bridge.
Yes.
And Richard Radowski asks, how did I read that message? The one that was in Russian. Translate.google.com.
Are you going to check that that's come up?
Nah, I was going to wing it.
It's like, I shouldn't... Yeah. And you say I'm nagging, but you notice when I don't say anything, you don't check.
Yeah, but when you do say something, you're nagging.
John JMC, our guru of sound. Talking of guru of sounds, he's like the ghost of Iron Horse Railways.
I'm so sorry. I'm old and I'm ill, so I fart when I cough.
Yes, you do. So, John JMC, our guru of sound. Oh, the blooming snot hampers come out to play.
Can't help it. I'm full of gunk today.
So there's a lot of people needing to go. It is a school night. I do understand. But Within Model Railway says I have a lot of A4s and Duchess's coronations. I do have a few princess coronations. I've got Duchess of Montrose, Duchess of Atholl, and Duchess of Abercorn, I think. Plus City of Lancaster, and I'm sure there's another city. I lose count. Bridges are always good, says Ruben Ashwell. Absolutely. Lee D. Holden asks, is there a chance that Hattons Models, that's just the model making part of Hattons Model Shop, is going to carry on with some of the Hattons team? From our interview tonight with Richard Davies, it would appear that the Hattons Originals toolings, there are certain ones which are still being made, so they've made a decision, and I guess it's because the production was well advanced. So the next batch of the P class is still going ahead. I was going to ask, I think the Andrew Barclay is either a waiting decision or a decision has been made that it will go ahead. Don't quote me on that, do check. And the batch 2 of the Genesis coaches is going ahead. They're going to be produced in Hattons Originals packaging, but that will be the last of Hattons Originals. So the tooling itself, they're exploring the avenues for probably get taken on by other manufacturing companies. Wangok says, okay, Jenny, off to talk to my mum now. Bye. Take care. Do say hello for us.
And speaking of people in general, Gandalf noticed an awful lot of you coming in late, by the way, but he didn't want to get in the way.
But for reasons of professionality, we didn't want Gandalf talking all over Richard Davies.
The Master Wizard, please take it away. A Monday clubber is never late to the wagons, nor is he early He arrives precisely when he means to.
Thanks, Gandalf. Russell Benton says, my Hattons LMS Genesis coaches are superb. Yeah, that was the livery, actually, that in all honesty with you, I had pegged as the standout from that particular batch. Very much the sleeper hit, because everybody was talking about some of the other liveries, but the reality is that the LMS ones, when we had the pre-production samples, it's like, these are blooming good, I like these. Midland Railway ones as well, I think are in batch 2. I think that those are definitely going to be pretty well subscribed. B2000RO Toys channel says, hi Jenny and Zoe, I finally got a chassis for my large-scale Henry the Green engine. It's a Bachmann 460 chassis. Boom! Excellent. Michelle78 says, so what's everyone's first exhibition of 2024? Model Rail Scotland or York Model Railway Show for me? Undecided which. I think I may be at Doncaster. I'm still beating down the logistics of it. But I think Doncaster may well be the first one for me.
Now, in an update that's we've been looking forward to...
I've just read that out.
Have you?
Yeah, you're not listening to me, are you?
No. No, I'm not. But we do have our next video. So this one's from PVA J. Cloth Allen, I believe. Or Allen Reynolds at Buckland Junction.
Okay.
And this is a scratch-built loco coaling stage tower. So this is, of course, a long video because he's scratch building and he's going to explain what's going on. So, oh my goodness. That's a fair-sized track plan.
Nick at Bletchton High Level says, Doncaster for the hardy folk. This is always lovely. I like the different levels and the bridges. It's like always a big deal for me. Bridges and multiple levels, I think, really works incredibly well.
Yes.
Look, there's the Triang Dock Shunter hidden away down there.
Oh, look at that. Some nice snazzy webcams.
Q1. I do like the Q1. It's a bit of an ugly duckling, but I really do like it. Is that a Dutch liveried towed brake van? Interesting. And if you look here, you see you've got the track snaking underneath the other track. I do like that. Is
that really shot from the webcam? Because that is a very high quality camera. I like it. I love that we're seeing more of this these days. People putting cameras into their layouts. We've done it a fair amount here, and it gives you some greatness when you're looking around and playing around with it.
It's something we pioneered here because we thought, that'll be great for a live stream, and it is.
Yeah, but moreover, even if you're just linking up your computer in your train room, you can see from different angles, and you get such an interesting look at your own layout.
Those teak coaches really are great. I've got loads of them. Hornby teaks are superb coaches. That's quite a nice long train as well.
It is. So I'm going to jump this to... Here's the sketch he's making.
The coaling stage.
Yes. So Pim1234 says, what's the white locomotive running?
That's one of the Hattons Hellion Bayer Garretts.
Right.
So again, it's another model which Hattons did exclusively. They were made for them by Hellion, but the tooling is owned by Hattons. Getting a bit difficult to come by these days. Hopefully we will see the model reappear sometime soon. But that is LMS Photographic Grey, and I'd like to thank Warbler Productions for making it possible for us to add that to the fleet. It is sound fitted, although I keep having to turn the volume back up. It keeps turning itself back down.
Oh, we've got a good question here. Right on Track says, anyone joining in with the Not Lobia competition?
I'm one of the judges. This is an interesting effect. So this is to paint the concrete effect. So
it's kind of stippling it while it's painting. Yeah. That's a great idea.
I do like that. Tunnel is lovely. So an N2 in Southern livery. That's very Hornby 00. So Raymond Legg says he's got several of those Lima refrigerator vans. Michelle78 says York is always a decent exhibition. I haven't been to York for a very long time. You might want to flick through one.
I am flicking through. So we're looking at. Oh yes.
Oh, good use of the cans of booze. You can drink them afterwards.
Yeah.
Perfecto.
It's your reward for patience.
Yeah.
I like that.
So
Oh my god! I am.
again, it's those like the shape. Is it the Shakespeare Tunnel near Dover, with a very very tall headroom. And the United Dairy 6-wheel tank wagons, are those actually Hornby 001s? I could be wrong, but oh, and the schools.
Oh man, why am I starting to cough now? This is very annoying.
I don't know.
Oh, the texturing works good. Yes.
That's coming together really quite nicely.
Yes,
And it just shows you don't need to buy expensive ready-to-plant buildings. You can make stuff from scratch.
So, oh, there it is. That is coming together really well.
Absolutely.
That is incredible.
Jerry BVR says that's where I've been going wrong. I only use bean.
Yeah, you can't just use bean can. You need to have the incentive to get it finished.
Now, incidentally, talking about, I know it's kind of become quite overshadowed. We had the Hornby announcements, and then we had the news about Worley, and the news about Hattons. So the Hornby announcements have kind of become swamped by that just a little bit. One of the things I will say to you is the GNER HST sets are selling out quick. If they're a must-have item, do purchase it. Locomotion number 1 is also proving very popular, as are the single packs of the various things like the Mail Coach and Queen Adelaide's Coach. And what I would suggest to you is that they're going to be proving very, very popular as people change their pre-order from the set of another rocket with the 3 different coaches to just the coaches separately.
Right.
Somebody asked about the Kernow Models Railroad. There we are, right on track. Says, Jenny, are you getting hold of a rail motor from Kernow? I don't currently have a plan to, but certainly if anybody from Kernow Models is watching and wants to have one filmed for a video review, then do get in touch and we'll sort something out. James Pets, our well-dressed gentleman. Was that James Pets? Was that the well-dressed gentleman? Yeah. I can't.
So I'm going to have to.
Oh no, it wasn't. It was James Pets, because he approves. Says the notable thing about the Hornby announcements is that they have moved to 3 per year rather than the 1 per year announcements. Yeah, so to all those people who are saying, "Oh, there's not really all that much," that's because you've only got 1/3 of the announcements.
Thank you so much for sending that in, Alan. That was actually really good. I really enjoyed that.
Tamith Velaquest says, I do like a can of speckled hen then and now. It's brewed not far from me. It's not too bad, actually. Yeah, I think I'm going to have a gin and tonic when I'm done on the stream. Medicinal, of course. The gin,
very, very nice.
Gin helps the throat. So,
I wish something would help my throat. I feel like dry. I feel like I'm made of sand.
I feel like somebody's sprinkling dust in the back of my throat. So, we've got here a video from Richard Swiderski. He says, hi, Jenny and Zoe. Hello. Says, hope you are both well and Jen has recovered from her illness. Not so much. Please find a video of the Monday Club gang. Oh, sorry, 4, not of. 4, that would be weird. People going, what? When did you film this? Please find a video for the Monday Club gang, 86101 and 87002, speeding through Hertford Station in Chester, 13th of January 2024 on the Air Extension Rail Tour from Crewe to Glasgow Central. So, let's bring that up.
Let's
press play.
Let's watch it go toot toot.
The roof toot.
Roof toot toot. Roof toot toot.
Jerry BVR, that's a bit cruel. Says Hornby announcements had more reheats than a dodgy takeaway. No, no.
You said you liked my takeaway.
Locomotion number 1 was definitely a huge standout for me. James Pett says you feel like sand. I think you probably preferred desert. Desert.
Oh dear.
Eh. Aaronville says, after watching Jenny about the Hornby 2024 launch, I then asked my local Great Eastern Models shop to pre-order the locomotion #1. Thanks to a good review of the launch, Jenny prompted me to order. That's excellent.
Everyone seems to have been very impressed with locomotion #1.
Yeah, and I was the one who went, oh, they'll never be able to make that. Oh, intercity livery, look at that. I do love that. There's a decent Class 87 you can get in model form from Hornby, and the 86 you can get from Hellion. So that entire train, I think, can now be modelled.
Wow.
I've got at least one 86. It's quite tragic when you've got so many locos, you forget what you've got. I do have at least one 86, but I don't have an 87.
J. Paul Anderson says, Jen, have you been on What's Neat this week? Recently, or will you be? It's been a while, hasn't it?
It's been a while since I've been on What's Neat this week, but if Sir Ken of Patterson invites me, I will come on. Hint, hint, Ken. Come on, somebody nudge Ken. Thing is, though, you've got to have something neat to talk about, and I'm not sure. It's like, oh, hello.
I don't know what.
I like change.
Have you been neat recently?
No, I've been quite messy. No, but to be honest, actually, I think I do have something to add. I can go on and talk about Hattons and the changing face of the hobby in Britain. UK Greeny Richard says support coach lets it down. I wouldn't say too much. So Don Gets Mother Owen says, yep, the whole train is modelable. Mark 3s from Oxford, Mark 1 from Bachmann, and the Mark 2 FBSO from Bachmann as well. You've read that one out. Stevie Film says, I'm here, implying a degree of lateness to the party.
A Monday clubber is never late to the wagons, nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.
Thanks, Gandalf.
Thank you, Gandalf.
Peter Jackson Cheadle here says, I miss seeing 86s and 87s on passenger trains. Did you check the view? Okay, yeah, that's fine. Right.
You're a burger sometimes, you know
This
that.
is from James Spinks, who says, hello, ladies.
Hello.
I have got a video for you of my mate, Alfie Old Triang DMU, that hasn't been serviced for 50 years, works as well as it was bought, a little noisy but good if you like it. Please make sure to check out more of that sort of stuff on my channel of tube.
Channel of Tube?
Yeah, my brain just went, I'll throw words at it and see what happens.
Okay, here we go. Press and see buttonsies.
Yeah, press play. Somebody's been buying from Hornby Hobbies. So, oh, choo choo, beep beep. Yeah, the shorty, class 101, so they... Oh, that was a short video. Cool.
Short but sweet.
Yeah. Oh, that's a bit meta. You can actually... It's recommending this very video.
It's weird, isn't it? You can watch yourself. It's like... But
Oh.
I realise I'm interested in this stuff because I'm on it.
Stevie Film says, my Hattons box of bargains was delivered to the wrong house. They even sent a photo to prove it. Nice job, DHL. That's the thing I don't get. They take a photo to prove they've delivered it, and it's like, that's not my house.
Yeah, that number's not right. I don't own that door. Where's that cat come from?
But I've heard of people say that they had the devil's own job arguing with the parcels company. Go, look, we got proof it was delivered. It's like, yeah, not to my house.
Yeah, you've sent it somewhere.
Yeah. Yes. James Pett says, live stream Infinite Regress. That deserves its own live stream.
So we got a photograph here from Philip Bolden, Naive Gauge, who says, I'm moving house, so I've spent some time packing up my railway. I always designed it to be transportable.
But
it's a sad-looking sight.
But never put it to the test. That was the thing. The layout,
it's a very interesting layout.
Bolton Trinity Road was sort of loosely designed to come apart. I had it in mind.
It did come apart.
The thing was, it didn't do it very well.
Actually, this looks really, really well done for...
Is that a helix on the end?
For transport.
It shows, actually. I mean, that'll be quite strong but light.
Yeah.
It's a very good lesson in baseboard construction.
Yeah. That looks actually really good, Naive Gauge.
So that's brilliant. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
And good luck with the move.
So I'm going to go for that view if you want to check that it's gone
I
up.
don't want to check that.
Stevie
Yes,
Film says, I technically trespassed to retrieve it. I was so what's... I've come in halfway through a conversation there.
Oh my goodness. So, we have one final video for tonight. What, are you still trying to work on what's going on?
Oh yeah, no, he went to retrieve it. Apparently it was delivered to 75 instead of 76. Soda Dan Daman, great to see you. Hope we find you well. I'll just see if I missed any comments. J. Paul Anderson says, I think Luke Towan, also known as the world's finest modeler, was on What's Neat once. I don't know, it may have been. I know that Ken does invite a lot of influential people on. But yes, Sir Kenneth Patterson, if you want somebody on to talk about Hattons and the state of the hobby in the UK, then I'm your person. Right. Sue at Putnam Junction says, unfortunately, we're not going to make MRS this year. Oh, that's a shame. Also, Flymo Chairman 1 very helpfully posted the link to the new Monday Club Wagon. Now, I have had updated figures on the Monday Club Wagon, and we are at 3/4 sold out. So
that's
there are
pretty
still,
good.
Yeah, it is very good. So there's still some left, but they're selling out faster than the previous two. Still on for a Q2 release. Jennifer Horton says, my posts are not appearing on the screen. Is there a problem? That one appeared okay.
This is not the first time we've had someone that's had this. We can see that because they're replying.
Oh.
Remember that other guy that
yes.
had that? And we still don't know what's going on.
There seems to be an intermittent YouTube problem for some people. It's nothing to do with us. We've not been shadow banned or any of that nonsense. So all I would say is, if you put do it as if replying to somebody.
Excuse me.
And they should appear. But oh right. Flymo Chairman suggests try going to the top chat and then re-choose live chat. Right.
So we've got a final video for tonight because we are running out of time. I know that someone is messaging via Facebook. That's not how to do it.
Hey, what?
Because we just, if we load up Facebook, it's coming through to your page rather than anything else. That's not the way to do it, because if we load up Facebook, we end up with Facebook messaging going bing, bing, bing in the background all the way through
incidentally, when you were messing with the sound, that came through.
Yes, I know that now. I do apologise, everyone. It's just I was trying to level out the sounds between Skype and Windows because it was starting to go down.
I don't know whether it came through for everybody else.
It did. And I apologised in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Because what was happening was Skype was starting to try and lower and lower and lower the volume. I was watching it on the equalizer.
I like that. Ben Tullett says, Ken made me laugh on his last stream as a train derailed. And he said, nothing like this happens on Jenny's show. Yes. There's the Class 08, Tim Krinsky. Can I just say a huge thank you to Tim Krinsky, who sent in... They purchased a Gronk at Clark Railworks and had it shipped here. It was incredibly kind of you. So
thank you so much.
I had that going round, but it seems determined to derail en masse. So that's why it's not currently running round. I'll move it round so we can show off the Tim Krinsky Gronk. I think that's in shot a little bit behind me.
So we've got our final video for tonight because we're just getting on. And this is from Barnabas Junction. He's got a track cam video from Making Tracks 3.
And well worth it. If you have a track camera and you go to any of the Making Tracks things, just ask them nicely and they'll send your camera wagon round.
Yeah, it's great.
They let us...
If they'll let Jenny do it, they'll
let me do it. They'll
let people who aren't weird do it.
Joe Light Railway says, sorry, I'm coming back for a bit. Just to let you know that I'm running my Hornby TT120 train set. That's a good thing to do.
Nothing's happening to me.
It's like the snot hamper is open for business. Yeah, R.I.P. Worley, says Raymond Legs. And Dongits Mulrow says, that noise was Billy Gates replacement speakers. I must admit, when you started doing it, I had to. That's why I was waving at you.
I'm paying for it now.
Yeah. This is penance. So this is through the fiddle yard at the back. If you just ignore the coughing and spluttering, so the human snot hamper. Oh look, it's the MDV wagons from Acura Scale. Oh, don't they look nice in a? That's a blooming long train. Was this the Acura Scale takeover? So this is Richard Watson, aka New Junction's personal stash, no doubt. Some really nice stuff here. There's the Caroline engineer's coach from Revolution, I think that is, and then those Castle Cements are nice. I think they're Acura Scale. The 50, I'm guessing that's a Hornby one. I don't think we've seen running samples from Acura Scale yet. So we're just at the back of making tracks.
I'm gonna. Oh, look at the Christmas stuff! I love it. I love it.
Oh, there's some. The Coca-Cola train.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump it round to the front now.
Christmas is coming. Yeah. Oh, and this is the fun bit. So we've got camera shot of this. Has it got bigger since we saw it at the Great Electric Train Show? I can't remember.
They're planning to make it bigger, I know that.
I do apologise for the opening of the snot hamper.
I am doing my best, but I am choking to death here. It's ridiculous.
Oh, apparently the 50 is the Acura Scale model. Martin Parkinson says, great show again. Night. See you next time. Look, take care. It's great to have your company. And do tickle the like if you haven't already done so. And share the stream to social media.
It does look...
I mean, this
huge.
This is a top tip for anybody's model. Get yourself a little cube cam.
Yes.
Doesn't have to be an expensive GoPro. You can get quite cheap ones. And just send it around on a flat car because you get some great shots like this. Peter Jackson Cheadle Heath says it will be bigger at the Model Rail live show at the NEC. I'm looking forward to it. We'll have to take the if we do go, we'll have to. Oh look, it's got like Christmas trees on it. They've made it slightly Christmassy. But yeah, if we do get to go, we need to take the camera wagon round. What's wrong?
Nothing, I'm just checking back on something. This is... I have to say, even though we've seen it before...
Apparently this camera is 38 quid, says Barnabas Junction. So actually, yeah, a case in point.
Little cameras aren't that expensive these days.
Yeah, camera technology is quite cheap. So this is really good.
I may be not doing much on my show today.
It feels like somebody's sprinkling dust in the back of your throat.
No, my throat is dry, that's all.
Oh, have you not got a can of drink? It's reminded me that the beverage of choice tonight is cherry Coca-Cola Zero. So there we are. Apparently we're going round a bit quicker now. So we've got a couple of 37s there. I'm intrigued by the 50. I'm going to have to have a chat with Richard Watson of New Junction and see if I can borrow that 50. Okay, let's go faster. We've gone to Plaid. Get yourself a can of Coke.
I'll do in a moment. Right, guys, this has been great. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Absolutely, it's been great fun. What time are we on?
2 minutes.
Oh right, so it's this will be our last video tonight. Are you doing your live stream or not?
I'm going to try.
So is it set up to punt people across automatically?
Not yet.
So if you want to get that set up. Ben Tullett says, I really want to see if a camera can be fitted inside an old Airfix or Hornby GWR auto coach.
I would love to see that done.
Yeah, with like a representation of the cab, so as if you're sat just behind the driver's area, looking through. That'd be quite good, actually.
Yes.
So, basically, just as a recap, if you joined us, if you're just joining us now, I'll get there. I'll throw enough words at it in the end, and we'll get there. If you're just joining us now, we have talked today. We touched on the Worley show being cancelled. We did break the news last week on the Monday, so there's reasons for it being cancelled, valid reasons. So that went to an EGM of the committee and membership of the Worley Model Rail Club, and essentially there seems to be. There's three main reasons that Worley has been cancelled. I think the primary reason is that the people who've been doing an amazing job of organising it for a good long time now, they've reached the point they want to retire, and there's nobody prepared to step up to do the job. So lack of people to organise it. We've also got increased in costs to hold at the NEC. That is a very, very popular weekend. There's always other shows on at the same time, makes it more expensive for a whole host of things. And you've got to remember that the club's got to pay for a lot of hotel rooms as well, and the prices are always quite inflated. We were quoted 200 to 250 just for a travel lodge for the Saturday night, and that really is a lot of money. And also there's declining footfall. Over the last 8 or 9 years, they've seen a steady decline in footfall going to the Worley show, and they've decided that it's just not at a point where they just can't, at the foreseeable future, to continue. But they've not closed the door completely on the Worley show. It may well come back at a new venue in the future. Not impossible. David Scott says, time to go, folks. Great stream tonight. Catch you all next week.
Jen, do we have, before we go, do we have a sponsor tonight?
We do. So, look, thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget as well that at the end of the stream, we'll be given an opportunity to head on over to Coffee McCoffface on the Game Hammer Classic Gaming stream, where it's the all request retro video game Monday, but from everybody here at at Monday Club HQ. Thank you for joining us. Also, a big thank you to Richard Davies, who we had in for an exclusive interview talking about the winding down of Hattons. And certainly it's been quite an interesting week, and the day that Hattons closes its doors for the final time, we will be holding a minute's silence for the loss of an institution in the hobby. The Monday Club is proudly sponsored by TMC, the Model Centre. Check them out at themodelcentre.com. The website features extensive stocks of new models as well as selective pre-owned items where you can track down that bargain you've always wanted. Pre-order with confidence all of the forthcoming models from all the manufacturers. TMC also offer a renumbering and renaming service so you can get the exact identity of locomotive that you want. Why not also check out their value weathering, or go for something incredibly special with their bespoke service where you can choose from a more extensive weathered look right through to custom graffiti either off the peg or to a design of your choice. Check out TMC today at themodelcentre.com and start your model journey. So a big thank you for everybody who has joined us. Ben Tollett says Worley Club have got some free open days being hosted to go and visit and have hands-on with the layout building and running. The dates are on their website, well worth checking out. Valley's 56XX says curious episode this one. Yeah, it's been very, very strange. Now, I'm just going to draw your attention to one of the things that we've done is we have got some Hattons exclusive models from through the ages going round. So, not every model, but on the turntable, the Load Hall liveried Class 14 is Keith, named after Keith Hatton. This was an exclusive to Hattons in a very unusual livery. I don't believe the Class 14 ever carried the load haul livery, but this was a Hattons exclusive. Also on the turntable, I think we're going to actually hit it. Oh no! Ah no, we did hit it. Oh, such limited clearance. So we've got the CPC Andrew Barclay. We've also got an NCB Andrew Barclay. We've got a P class in Rail Operations Division Green as number 5027. We've got the P class in Southeastern and Chatham Railway Grey as number 754. We've also got, you'll have just seen it going round, the Hattons Bayer Garrett in LMS Photoshop as photographic grey, and that was one of their very impressive exclusives. We're going to just try and pick up the locomotive coming out of the tunnel. Is perhaps one of the lesser known Hattons exclusives. They commissioned this from Bachmann, and it is a particular running number of the Robinson Class 04 280 consolidation locomotive, and it's in late crest, factory weathered, wearing the number of one of the steam locomotives that was shedded close to Smithdown Road back in the day. We have also got the Class 28, which is just hoving into view. This is D5701 in rail blue with full yellow ends. It's the only Class 28 which actually got full rail blue. This was from the first batch of the Class 28s from Hattons, made for them by Hellion. The tooling is exclusively owned by them, and that's on the very, very long oil train. So just a few of the exclusive models that Hattons has brought us over the years. JD1533 Workshop says, hello from Queens, New York City. Big hello to you. It's great to see you. I hope I find you well. But there's a degree of lateness. So Gandalf has gone for cookies. So he has left a answer machine message for you because he knew you were coming late.
A Monday clubber is never late to the wagons.
Hey, what? Oh, no.
A Monday clubber is never late to the wagons, nor are they early. They arrive precisely when they mean to.
Thanks, Gandalf. Well, that didn't seem to be working quite so well. But yeah, oh, Richard Swiderski says, Jenny, don't mention the CPC Barclay. I never did get one. Oh, that's a shame. I bought it. I actually pre-ordered it. Let's go back there. I pre-ordered it because it was a must-have locomotive for me, being a Trafford Park resident. So it was on my must-have list, which is why I bought that when it first came out. And it sold out pretty much after the review. Alex Dent, no, Gandalf will not share cookies as one of his many quirks. Alan Reynolds at Buckland Junction says, thanks, Adam. Have a wee dram and all the best. Oh, that is a good idea. Sutton Lane says, bye-bye, sleep well. Pair of you, how about your next sponsor being Cavonia? Cough drops. If only. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe Jura Whiskey, if they're listening, in the unlikely event. And we can quaff wee drams of that, medicinal purposes. It just it eases the throat, don't you know. Ben Tullett says, whiskey, brandy, also great for cough. Oh, yes. 57305 Northern Princess. The Worley open days are usually busy and hopefully we get more. Absolutely. Richard Swiderski says, I was torn between that's the CPC Barclay, and the KT one. The KT one hung around for a bit. I seem to recall them still selling them for a little while. But the CPC one sold out so quickly. And sometimes you can never tell which models are going to sell out quickly. In terms of the P class, surprisingly, the Austerity Grey version, which I've got, I put this down to these are the ones that I reviewed. So people saw them in my review and went, all right, I'll have that one. So both of the ones that I reviewed were the first ones to sell out from each of those models, which surprised me because I thought the ornate Southeastern and Chatham Railway liveried ones would. Although Bluebell, in her very, very striking blue livery, modelled on the Southeastern and Chatham Railway livery, has gone on to become the most sought after, which it just goes to show you never can tell. Let me just retrieve some errant wagons. I put it down to the fact that I don't normally use this track, so it's being irksome. Let's get you down there, and then let's just. There we go. Just swapping tracks around. Oh, I've just fitted a TXS decoder that I got in the Hattons closing down sale to a Class 55. So let me just see if I can fire her up. Pim1234, big hello to you. Richard Swiderski says nearly got the CPC version last year from Hattons. Faulty runner, but it was sold before I could get to it. Oh no. Valleys 56XX says I got the Katie Barclay from Hattons Marketplace for 50 quid. Rather lucky. Leamington Station says, great stream tonight, Jen. Interview was top notch. Asked all the right questions. Well, thank you so much. Obviously, there were a few questions that we couldn't ask, and people go, "Oh, you had one job," but there's some questions that we can't ask. But we did go through a lot of the questions that have come up. Oh dear. Tumble of clowns. Leamington Station, yes, the TXS does use the speaker in the locomotive, although I did find with the Accurascale Deltic that it sounded better if I plugged in the Hornby speaker as well. So it's actually got two speakers in. Soda Dandaman says, I missed a bit in the interview, but did they give an update on pre-ordering the Barclays and P-Class? Yes, the production runs that are still going ahead, then those pre-orders will remain. Going forward, or if any of the Hattons originals are moved to other manufacturers, then the details of who's pre-ordered them will be passed across, not to move the pre-order, but so that then they can contact people and explain where they need to move their pre-order to, if that makes sense. Ben Tullett, I can't play the Imperial March on the two-tone horns. Some of the mainline loco drivers can play it on the train horns. Yeah, it's not really possible to play it on the model, it must be said. So shortly you'll be given the opportunity to move over to the Game Hammer Classic Gaming live stream. All you need to do is click the button. You can join the Cupboard Monkey for all request Monday night on the gaming stream with the Game Hammer of Joy. But from everybody here at the Monday Club, a big thank you for joining us, and a huge thank you to Richard Davies, who joined us to talk about Hattons and to answer some of the questions that have been asked. Are you on? So I've just confirmed that the Game Hammer Classic Gaming streaming is up and running, so you will now be given a prompt. But for everybody here at the Monday Club, good night to you and take care.